I practiced leaving my husband for months before I actually did it. Not the conversation, the fantasy. The version of my life that existed on the other side of the decision. I imagined dramatic arguments, tearful phone calls, friends trying to convince me to stay, family members demanding explanations. I imagined Noah standing in the driveway as I loaded my car, maybe angry, maybe devastated, maybe begging, but definitely there. In every version of the future I imagined, somebody chased me, somebody fought for me, somebody made me feel important enough to stop. What never occurred to me was the possibility that nobody would. The day I left started quietly. Too quietly. Noah was making coffee when I came downstairs. I had barely slept. My suitcase sat near the front door. The sight of it should have felt dramatic. Instead, it looked strangely ordinary, like luggage waiting for a vacation. Noah glanced at it, then at me, then back to his coffee. Nothing else. No reaction, no questions, no visible emotion. I remember feeling irritated, which sounds ridiculous now. But I was. Because after everything I'd put him through, after months of distance and dishonesty, I wanted some kind of response. Instead, I got silence. Finally, I spoke. I'm leaving. Noah nodded. Okay. Just okay. The same word he'd been using for months. The same word that somehow managed to communicate absolutely nothing. I waited. He didn't continue. That's it? Noah looked confused. What else would you like me to say? The question annoyed me, because I didn't have an answer. I wasn't looking for anything specific. I just wanted proof that my decision mattered. Proof that I mattered. Instead, Noah took a sip of coffee and asked if I wanted breakfast. Breakfast. As if I wasn't dismantling 10 years of marriage. As if I wasn't walking out the door. As if none of this was important. I declined. He nodded again, then went back to reading something on his tablet. The entire interaction lasted less than 2 minutes. I loaded my bags into the car. Noah never came outside. I started the engine. Noah never appeared at the window. I backed out of the driveway. Noah never called. As I drove away, I kept checking my mirrors, waiting, expecting, looking for something. Nothing came. No text. No phone call. No desperate attempt to stop me. Nothing. At first, I convinced myself it was temporary. Shock, I thought. He's in shock. Eventually, reality will hit him. Eventually, he'll realize what happened. Eventually, he'll come after me. That evening, I checked my phone every few minutes. Nothing. The next morning, nothing. A week later, still nothing. Ryan tried to reassure me. He told me Noah was probably processing everything. Probably struggling privately. Probably hurting more than he let on. I wanted to believe him. The alternative felt much worse. Because if Noah wasn't struggling, what did that say about me? The first month passed quickly. Ryan and I settled into our new routine. And almost immediately, things felt different. Not bad, just different. The excitement that had fueled the relationship for over a year started fading. Not disappearing, just changing. The stolen moments were gone. The secrecy was gone. The adrenaline was gone. Now there were groceries, bills, laundry, schedules, reality. The relationship survived, but the fantasy didn't. Meanwhile, Noah remained completely absent. No angry messages, no late-night phone calls, no attempts to reconnect. Nothing. Friends occasionally mentioned him. Every update sounded the same. He's doing okay. He's keeping busy. He's spending time with family. He's traveling more. He's trying new things. The reports irritated me. I wanted evidence that he'd fallen apart. I wanted proof that my absence created a hole in his life. Instead, every update suggested the opposite. 6 months later, I ran into one of Noah's friends at a restaurant. We made awkward small talk. Then he smiled. Noah seems happier lately. The words hit me harder than they should have. Happier. Not recovering, not surviving. Happier. I smiled politely, then spent the entire drive home thinking about that sentence. The relationship with Ryan ended 8 months after I left. No huge fight, no betrayal, no dramatic event. We simply discovered that wanting someone's life and wanting someone are not always the same thing. When the relationship finally ended, I sat alone in my apartment staring at a blank wall. For the first time in years, there was no distraction. No affair, no excitement, no fantasy. Just silence. And inside that silence was a question I had spent years avoiding. What if leaving hadn't solved anything? A year after the divorce, I finally got my answer. I saw Noah by accident. A Saturday afternoon, a bookstore downtown. I almost didn't recognize him. Not because he looked different, because he looked lighter, relaxed, comfortable, like someone carrying half the weight he used to. He noticed me immediately, smiled, walked over. The conversation was pleasant, friendly, normal, which somehow made it worse. Because there was no bitterness, no resentment, no sadness, just distance. The kind that develops when someone genuinely moves on. Eventually, I asked the question that had haunted me since the day I left. Why didn't you come after me? Noah looked surprised, then thoughtful. He considered the question carefully. I almost did. My heart jumped. For one brief second, I felt relief. Validation. Proof that I had mattered. Then he continued. The first week. I waited. Noah smiled faintly. I sat with my phone a dozen times. The words hurt, not because of what they meant, because of what came next. But every time I picked it up, I realized I wasn't calling because I thought we could fix things. I said nothing. I was calling because I was afraid. The bookstore suddenly felt very quiet. Noah looked down for a moment, then back at me. And fear isn't a good reason to ask someone to stay. Neither of us spoke. After a moment, he continued. I wanted someone who wanted to be with me. Simple words, nothing dramatic, nothing cruel. Yet they landed harder than any insult ever could, because they were true. I had wanted Noah to fight, wanted him to chase me, wanted him to prove my value. But I had never stopped to ask what that would cost him, or whether he deserved better. Eventually, our conversation ended. We wished each other well, then went our separate ways. I stood outside the bookstore watching him disappear into the crowd, and for the first time, I understood something. The reason nobody followed me wasn't because nobody cared. It wasn't because I was easy to replace. It wasn't because I never mattered. The reason nobody followed me was because the people who truly love you eventually reach a point where they stop trying to convince you to stay. Not because they stop loving you, because they finally start loving themselves too. And the hardest realization of my life was understanding that Noah's silence wasn't weakness. It was acceptance. He wasn't standing in the driveway because he had already spent years standing there emotionally, waiting, hoping, trying. By the time I drove away, he wasn't giving up. He was simply finished carrying a marriage by himself. And when I looked back at my empty rearview mirror that day, I thought nobody was following me. What I didn't realize was that the person I expected to chase me had already let go long before I left.